Hello, Ghana for aha, Ghana TV. Me dey am Nancy ana meniaje because ya how trending issues near the air because we know that is what exactly you want. And for Inᵴulting so Ghana Addo so ye papa Inᵴulting no emu do none for we dey very interesting. Sam George and I just said, when you're copying Kenya radio station, I just said, any interview in about Ghana's government, in summer, Sam George, and check Sam George, in fact, comment and say, Sam George, how dare you say what's not a television song? Now all can say fact and forget. And they gonna pass all your mana in 7 years, and Sam George in go for cancer. Actually, a portion comments now. I'm person kind. I guess I hear free her and then if you my son no Addo so ye papa na senya Sam George Sam George didn't send me at all ever Ghana by broke piemu Kenya potemu oni omo the edin kita ho na alofo inseni nyina say according to Sam George no say Ghana xenophobia any abai we BRruAK say they can borrow to the brim one as awdwuma won ti ase ne kaka one of one said no menum enkwan no age of funo insem yenkotie na yembra.
Ghana will need 10 straight years of 100% effective management. 100%, 0% budget deficit, 10 straight years to fix the mess that has been created by this government. In 2019-2020, when we're sounding the warning bells, our finance minister will come to parliament and literally insult everybody and say to us that we're liars because he went on the euro market to borrow 3 billion. He did a euro bond of 3 billion and he had offers of 30 billion.
Yeah, oversubscription.
Oversubscription. Because of how robust Ghana's economy is.
The fundamentals are good.
Now, you know, it's interesting because people forget that in 2019, there was a meltdown in the rest of the world and they were offering 0% interest, 0.1. Maximum you get was 3%. And Ghana was going and offering 11%. So investors would chase you with the money.
Yeah.
It's good returns. They won't put their money in the US. They won't put their money in European economies because you're offering them 11%. So you come back home and our finance minister will finish and come home and have a kenke party. There'll be a party of food and drinks and they'll thank God that we were oversubscribed. Now it's dollars that came in and they will misuse those dollars. And after they've done that, now the tourist dollars need to go back home because now America has raised is interest rates.
Yeah.
And so that's more attractive now. And so the tourists come and say, can we get our money? We're going back. Now, you don't print dollars in Ghana. You don't print dollars here in Kenya. So you now have to find a dollar. Now, don't forget that because government was borrowing on the local market and borrowing a lot of cedis, to make it attractive for the banks, government raised the base rate. Now, when you need to create, you need to get the dollars back. You only have cedis. Now you don't even have enough cedis in your central bank. So what does government do? The government of Ghana just tells the Bank of Ghana, print money. So they print money.
Yeah. When
they print money means there's more cedis, more liquidity in the system.
Yeah.
Now, when you have so much cedis chasing very few dollars, basic economics, demand and supply, the dollar begins to rise. Now, anybody who's gotten part of this loose liquidity in the system bears in mind that, look, the cedi is no longer a safe store of economic value. So everybody, including the market woman, is looking to buy dollars. And so there's a mad rush for dollars, government having to repatriate dollars, ordinary citizens looking to store value in a foreign instrument.
Yeah.
And so then what you then see is the dollar begins to rise. So instead of government being prudent and cutting expenditure and cutting its quote according to its size, it just asks the central bank to print more money. You print more money, it pushes up liquidity. Now at a point in time you realize excess liquidity shoots up your inflation. That's why inflation moved from 9% to 52%. Because there's just too much money in the system. So what do you do to mop up inflation? What's the number one principle tool in the hands of central banks? You raise the base rate.
Base rate goes up.
And when you raise the base rate, what happens? Government is still borrowing locally. So government has raised the base rate because it wants to mop up liquidity, but government is still going back to that same bank, those same commercial banks to borrow. So now government is borrowing at a higher rate because it has raised the base rate. So at first government was borrowing at 18%, but you've raised the base rate now to 28% to mop up liquidity. So you're going to borrow, the banks are going to borrow to you at 32% now. So you're cutting your nose to spite your face. And so what Kenya needs to understand is that, look, when you see money, it's foreign currency, it's a tourist, it will go back. And so you need to be careful how you run after these dollars because they're not yours. They will go back.
Something will happen.
Absolutely. The creditor will come calling. Even hopefully when we come to government in 2025, we have 4 years. We can't fix the whole mess. It's impossible because it's systemic. Look, the public service has been over bloated. You had state institutions where we had one chief executive who ran the institution. These guys have come called something job for the boys. And they apart from the one chief executive, they create 4 deputy chief executives.
Right.
So for every position that existed in the civil service, they create 4 deputies and just pumping the people in there, and they're paying them huge salaries. You know, ministries only had one minister.
Are we talking about Ghana? Ghana in West Africa.
Yes, you have a similar situation here.
The question
I want to leave Kenya peacefully. Please, I'm talking about Ghana.
It's all about Ghana. We thank you very much for joining us.
Yo, Addo ya pakotie nsɛm aba na kyese very very interesting nsɛm no enye asenketo ya hu sɛnia Sam George ede nsɛm no ato no sɛnia oka nsɛm no faye was Ghana would need 10 straight years of 100% effective management, 0% budget deficit for 10 straight years to fix the mess that has been created by this government. Inᵴulting and Wakanu do Suse, Kenoforiata, Elnabo, and Ghana Mampeni, and Omomka. They've done a very great mess to our economy. We need so much time to fix it, and yet I buy when I fix it in no time. Just see people forget that there was a meltdown in some parts of the world, and they were offering 0% interest, and the maximum you get was 3%, and Ghana was going in and offering 11%. So investors were chasing the money, and our finance minister would finish and come home and organize the KK party. And thank God that we have there over subscribed into no and I then same way etuja aha Ghana tibaha and I'm dimu easy for comment me comment section na meje break akin kan ede amonfo fefe mo amodo for snowy me na me dey insem no April sisi ade makao.